stands for the right of American people to speak out against government, the right of an American jury, 6 people from the heart of this country, right from the middle of Oklahoma, to speak out to the whole nation and say, as a jury, we don't believe in the government, the standards, we don't believe in the gobbledygook and the numbers games and the numbers crunching, we don't believe in all of the things that have caused the truth to be hidden from America.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this video we have a frightening story, kind of like the one of Danny Casolaro, on our hands. The story of Karen Silkwood. In 1974, Karen Silkwood was a chemical technician at the Kerr-McGee plutonium fields production plant in Crescent, Oklahoma, and a member of the Oil, Chemical and Atomic Workers Union. She was also an activist who was critical of the plant's safety procedures, and she was a whistleblower. You can probably see where this is going. This is the story of Karen Silkwood. Karen Silkwood was born on February 19, 1946, and grew up in Nederland, Texas. In high school, she developed an interest in chemistry, and after graduation, she enrolled at Lamar College in Beaumont, Texas, with a full scholarship to study medical technology. She left school, however, after her first year, married an oil worker, and had 3 kids. Her husband, William Meadows, however, had an appetite for buying shit. And so, due to his overspending, the couple had to file for bankruptcy. When Karen's husband William refused to end an affair he was having, Karen left him. Shortly thereafter, Karen Silkwood took a $4 per hour job as a metallography technician at the Cimarron plutonium plant operated by Kerr-McGee near Crescent, Oklahoma. Her duties there included polishing fuel rods packed with radioactive plutonium pellets. Shortly after taking the position, she joined the union, the Oil, Chemical and Atomic Workers Union, who were just about to stage a strike. However, the strike failed, and many workers left the union after. But not Karen. She became a member of the bargaining committee, the first woman to hold the position in the union's history, and was charged with investigating health and safety issues at the plant. Yeah, I mean, dealing with nuclear stuff, you definitely want to make sure you have your ducks in a row, and this is when Karen's story really begins. She discovered what she believed to be numerous violations of health regulations, including exposure of workers to contamination, faulty respiratory equipment, and improper storage of samples. She believed the lack of sufficient shower facilities could increase the risk of employee contamination.
If there is something going on, and if we are going to be susceptible to cancer, we're not going to know that in 20 years. So something's got to be done.
And as you can imagine, the company, they weren't too keen on that. The union came out with a statement, reading, "The Kerr-McGee plant had manufactured faulty fuel rods, falsified product inspection records, and risked employee safety." And it began taking legal action against the plant. In the summer of 1974, Karen Silkwood testified to the Atomic Energy Commission that she found serious violations of health and safety regulations, including evidence of spills, leaks, faulty fuel rods, and enough missing plutonium to make multiple nuclear weapons. She also alleged the company had falsified inspection records, and that safety standards had slipped because of a production speed-up. Something dirty was going on at the plant, for sure. On November 5th, 1974, a few months after Karen testified at the committee with her findings after doing an inspection of the plant, after a day at work, Karen was leaving the plant and performed a routine self-check, just to make sure you're not contaminated. What she found was that her body contained almost 400 times the legal limit of plutonium contamination. She was decontaminated at the plant and sent home with a testing kit to collect urine and feces for further analysis. Things get even stranger. It was found that there were traces of plutonium on the inner portion of the gloves she was using at work. Her gloves did not have any holes in them. Plutonium had been put inside her gloves so that it would be touching her skin and contaminate her body. How did it get in there? The following day, despite having handled no dangerous materials at all, she was just doing paperwork, she was found once again to test positive for plutonium contamination. She was given a more intensive decontamination this time. The very next day, November 7th, 1974, as she entered the plant, she was found to be dangerously contaminated, even breathing out contaminated air from her lungs. A team was sent to her house and they found that plutonium traces were everywhere. Her house had to be stripped and partly destroyed. She was sent to Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico for further testing. That is 3 days in a row she was found to be dangerously contaminated with plutonium, was then decontaminated, went home, came back in the next day, and was contaminated once again. Karen Silkwood began to believe she was being deliberately contaminated with dangerous levels of plutonium for her whistleblowing efforts against Kerr-McGee. The company retorted, saying she had contaminated herself in order to portray the company in a negative light. Yeah, there's definitely other ways, though, to portray a company in a negative light than contaminating yourself with an extremely radioactive material. It was later discovered that the type of plutonium found in Silkwood's body came from a production area which she had not accessed in 4 months. This didn't dissuade Karen, however, at all. She was still going to go public with everything she found at the plant. She assembled documentation for her claims, including company papers, and contacted a New York Times journalist. On November 13th, 1974, Karen Silkwood left a union meeting. Another attendee of that same meeting later testified that Karen Silkwood had a binder and a packet of documents with her. She got in her car and prepared to drive to Oklahoma City, about 300 miles away, to meet with the New York Times journalist. And that meeting she left would be the last time anyone spoke with her. Later that evening, Karen Silkwood's body was found in her car, which had run off the road and struck a culvert on the east side of State Highway 74. She was 28 years old. The car contained none of the documentation she had been seen with at the union meeting. All of the evidence supporting her claims, it was gone. She was pronounced dead at the scene in what was believed to be an accident. The trooper at the scene remembers that he found 1 or 2 methaqualone tablets, Quaaludes, in her car, and he remembers finding weed. The police report indicated that she fell asleep at the wheel. The coroner found she had almost twice the recommended dosage of methaqualone in her body, needed for inducing drowsiness.
Silkwood's death an accident, concluding that she was under the influence of drugs.
I would either put her probably either totally asleep or in some state of stupor from induced by the medication she was taking.
It appeared at the scene and from the physical evidence at the scene that she ran off the road by herself.
But the union suspected foul play.
Why would she want to be drowsy when A, you're driving, and B, she was going to meet the press to break this huge story? And what happened to the documents containing all her evidence? Dents and paint scrapes on her rear bumper led her supporters to believe she had been deliberately forced off the road by a trailing vehicle. Skid marks from Karen's car were found on the road, suggesting that she was trying to get back onto the road after being pushed from behind. The documents she planned to share with the New York Times reporter, they were never found. According to her family, she had received several threatening phone calls very shortly before her death. The Atomic Energy Commission and the State Medical Examiner requested analysis of Silkwood's organs. Much of the radioactive contamination was in her lungs, suggesting that plutonium had been inhaled. When her tissues were further examined, the highest deposits were found in her stomach, showing she had ingested plutonium. Later investigations found that 44 to 66 pounds of plutonium had been misplaced at the plant. The publicity surrounding the case led to a federal investigation of the plant, where many of Silkwood's allegations were proven true. Kerr-McGee closed Cimarron in 1975. Karen's father Bill and her children filed a lawsuit against Kerr-McGee for negligence on behalf of her estate, for willful negligence leading to her plutonium contamination.
Message to the government and to the nuclear industry that they have to tell the truth, and that if they don't tell the truth, they have to be prepared to pay the fiddler.
The trial was held in 1979. During this time, the family's lawyers were harassed, intimidated, and even physically assaulted. One of the investigators disappeared under mysterious circumstances. A key witness killed herself before her scheduled testimony. The jury, however, ruled in the family's favor, awarding them $10.5 million.
The jury was presented two theories. One, that she had done it deliberately to herself to embarrass the company. The other theory was that Kerr-McGee had done it to prevent or sabotage the investigation. The jury fined Kerr-McGee $10 million, the largest punitive award ever out of a trial court, and for three primary reasons. One, that the company had lied to the workers and to the public about the dangers of plutonium. Two, that it had defrauded the government by producing defective fuel rods. And three, that the security system there was so bad that up to 40 pounds of plutonium, enough for 4 bombs, was either lost or stolen. And as a result, we have a record verdict out of Oklahoma City.
On appeal, the amount was reduced to $5,000 to cover the destruction of Karen's personal belongings during the decontamination of her apartment. The US Supreme Court reversed the case, and it was headed for retrial when Kerr-McGee settled out of court for $1.38 million. They admitted no wrongdoing as part of the settlement. Her estate's attorneys speculated that Karen Silkwood had unwittingly uncovered a plot to smuggle plutonium to Israel and other countries. Though she thought she had uncovered sloppy accounting processes at the plant, she had actually discovered very deliberate covert assistance of Israel's nuclear weapons program. He suggested that the missing plutonium wasn't taken by Doc Brown, but had been stolen by a secret underground plutonium smuggling ring, in which many government agencies, including the highest levels of government and international intelligence agencies, CIA, MI5, Israeli Mossad, and a shadowy group of Iranians, were involved. He wrote that the United States government covered up many details about Silkwood's death, and allegedly carried out her assassination. Researching this, I don't believe she contaminated herself, and she was clearly driven off the road. It seems to me obvious assassination of a whistleblower. But was there a shadowy government conspiracy to smuggle plutonium to other countries? That I don't know. Karen Silkwood's children were divided. Her son Michael said, "I'm proud of Mom. Whether she did it to become the kind of legend that she became is not really important." Her daughter Dawn said, "My belief is that she did what she did because she was a troublemaker. I don't believe her intentions were as good as everybody said." If you want to see this story in movie form, you can. In 1983, a movie, Silkwood, was made telling her story. Hope I didn't spoil the movie for you. I mean, you kind of know how it's going to end. But it stars Meryl Streep and Cher, so, it's got that. I ain't got no Meryl Streep or Cher, so just me. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts about this story below. And I will see you, as always, real soon in the next video. Mike out.